Now we are going to discuss thyroid. So first the anatomy and physiology of thyroid. So what is the weight of thyroid gland? The weight of thyroid gland is 20 to 25 grams. Second question, what is the normal iodine requirement? Normal iodine requirement is 100 to 150 microgram per day. Thyroid gland is the storage site of iodine. How much iodine is stored in thyroid gland? More than 90% of iodine is stored in thyroid gland. The weight of thyroid is inversely proportional. Weight of thyroid, it's inversely proportional to the iodine intake. After that, question is asked, if a patient is taking adequate amount of iodine, then also one mineral deficiency can lead to goiter. And what's that mineral? It's the selenium. Selenium can cause goiter. Selenium can cause goiter even in patients taking adequate amount of iodine. Who is the father of thyroid surgery? It's the Theodore Cocker. Theodore Cocker is the father of thyroid surgery. He is the father of thyroid surgery. After that, see the relation. If this is the thyroid gland, just behind thyroid gland there is trachea, and in the trachea there are tracheal rings. So these are tracheal rings. Which tracheal rings? This is second, this is third, and this is fourth. So isthmus of thyroid gland is in relation to three tracheal rings, second, third, fourth, and mainly it's the third tracheal ring. Mainly it's the third tracheal ring. Questions are asked about what is the Wolff-Chaikoff effect. Wolff-Chaikoff effect. So this Wolff-Chaikoff effect is what? Iodine induced hypothyroidism. And second is Jod-Basedow effect. So what is this? Jod-Basedow effect. This is iodine induced hyperthyroidism. So this is iodine induced hyperthyroidism. There is one line of question which is asked about Pendred syndrome. What is this Pendred syndrome? Pendred syndrome, it is characterized by sensory neural hearing loss plus hypothyroidism. Sensory neural hearing loss plus hypothyroidism. The question is asked that the gene of Pendred syndrome is located on which chromosome number? The gene is located on chromosome number 7q. So gene is located on chromosome number 7q. Q means long arm of chromosome number 7. These are the questions about anatomy and physiology. After that, we are going to discuss the congenital disorders. So question is asked, what is thyroglossal cyst? So see, this is thyroglossal cyst. It's a congenital condition. It's a congenital condition, but age of presentation is 15 to 30 years. Age of presentation 15 to 30 years. It's a cyst in relation to thyroglossal tract. Now you can see this is foramen cecum, this is thyroglossal tract, and this is thyroid. There is one bone in relation. This is known as hyoid bone, and this is the location of the cyst. So here you can see this is the thyroglossal tract and this is the cyst. So this is thyroglossal cyst. Can you see the presentation? Question, what is the most common location? The most common location of thyroglossal cyst is subhyoid. because it is connected. Can you see? It is connected to the tongue. So there is one special feature. When the person is going to protrude the tongue outside, swelling moves up. And like any other thyroid swelling, it moves with deglutition. So this swelling, it moves with deglutition and it moves up on protrusion of tongue. On protrusion of tongue. Questions are asked about the complications. Now see, what are the complications? So in this cyst, infection can occur, and this infection can lead to abscess. And if we are going to perform what? Incision and drainage, then this abscess can lead to thyroglossal fistula. Thyroglossal fistula. So question, thyroglossal cyst is congenital, but be careful, thyroglossal fistula, this is acquired. It increases the risk of one malignancy. Which malignancy? Is the papillary carcinoma. Papillary carcinoma thyroid. So these are the complications. Now what is the treatment? The treatment is cyst trunk operation. Treatment is cyst trunk operation. Question is asked, what we do in cyst trunk operation? So here you can see, this is the hyoid bone. In relation to hyoid bone, this is the cyst. So we excise a part of hyoid bone in the cyst. Which part of hyoid bone? Is the central part or body of hyoid bone. So this is what is done in cyst trunk operation. So this is en bloc removal of central part or body, central part or body of hyoid bone with cyst. So this is how we manage thyroglossal cyst. Next question is asked, what is the definition of endemic goiter and what is the definition of retrosternal goiter? Endemic goiter. When more than 5% people in the population are having goiter, this is endemic goiter. This is given in Harrison. In Robbins, it's given when more than 10% people in the population are having goiter. Which one is correct? Follow Harrison. So when more than 5% people in the population are having goiter, this is endemic. After that, what is the retrosternal goiter? Retrosternal goiter is also known as substernal goiter, also known as mediastinal goiter. Mediastinal goiter. Now see, when more than 50% of thyroid tissue is located below neck. So definition, more than 50% of thyroid tissue is located below neck. This is the definition. Now what is the good thing? The good thing is that most of the patients are asymptomatic. But see, what are the structures located just behind thyroid? There is trachea. Behind trachea there is esophagus, and in between tracheoesophageal groove there is recurrent laryngeal nerve. So presentation can vary. Now see the presentation. Sometimes these patients are asymptomatic and it's diagnosed incidentally on chest X-ray. These patients might be symptomatic because of compression of trachea. There is dyspnea and stridor. Because of compression of esophagus, there is dysphagia. Because of compression of recurrent laryngeal nerve, there is hoarseness of voice. Hoarseness of voice. Because of compression of veins which are draining the face, what? There is venous collaterals, and then you can see dilated veins over anterior chest wall. Dilated veins over anterior chest wall, and Pemberton sign is positive. This is important point here. Pemberton sign is positive. Clear? How we are going to treat this condition? Obviously, if the patient is symptomatic, you have to perform thyroidectomy. Since the vascular supply of thyroid is mainly from neck, cervical incision is preferred for thyroidectomy. So here, thyroidectomy by cervical incision. So thyroidectomy by cervical incision. Lots of questions are asked about various types of thyroidectomy. So have a look. Types of thyroidectomy. First, total thyroidectomy. Now here you can see if we are going to remove all visible thyroid tissue, removal of all visible thyroid tissue, that is total thyroidectomy. Removal of one lobe with isthmus, that is hemithyroidectomy, and leaving 3 to 4 grams, of tissue in each lobe with removal of rest of the thyroid gland. This is known as subtotal thyroidectomy. And if we are leaving 4 to 6 grams of thyroid tissue in one lobe only and removal of rest of the thyroid, this is known as Hartley-Dunhill procedure. Hartley-Dunhill procedure. And what is near total? When we are leaving less than 1 gram of thyroid tissue adjacent to recurrent laryngeal nerve near ligament of Berry, that is near total thyroidectomy. So I am repeating: total thyroidectomy, removal of all visible thyroid tissue; hemithyroidectomy, removal of one lobe with isthmus; subtotal thyroidectomy, removal of whole of the thyroid gland except leaving 3 to 4 grams of thyroid tissue in each lobe. Hartley-Dunhill procedure is the modification of subtotal thyroidectomy. Here we leave 4 to 6 grams of thyroid tissue in one lobe with removal of rest of the thyroid. And what is near total thyroidectomy? We leave less than 1 gram of thyroid tissue near or adjacent to recurrent laryngeal nerve at ligament of Berry. So these are various types of thyroidectomy.